Hey, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Racing Live. This is Melinda Russell, and I am not in my office in Kalamazoo, as you can tell. I'm actually in Phoenix, Arizona, and this week I'm doing duty as Mama. That's what my grandkids all call me. So my daughter, that is the travel agent, is in Disney World. Of course, she's a big Disney crazy person, and she loves Disney, and she plans lots of vacations for people, but she especially plans Disney vacations. And so she has to go there, she says, to make sure, that all the new things that she can advertise to her clients. So she does make a lot of trips to Disney. So I'm still in Phoenix. I'm at my daughter Brittany's house in Glendale while she's in Florida, which I know tonight they're hunkered down because it's raining there because of the hurricane, but hopefully it doesn't get too close to them. So I'm sitting in the mother-in-law suite. I'm sitting on the bed here, so it's a little casual tonight. Hannah is my guest. Hannah Grisham is my guest tonight. And so, Hannah, we're just going to be very casual tonight and have a good interview and just have a nice conversation. So, Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, absolutely. So, Hannah, I'm sure your name is well known. At least I think it is well known around. But what I usually do is I let you kind of tell your story. And
Okay.
why don't you start by just telling people a little bit about yourself, where you live, your family, your pets, anything you want to share, and then we'll
All
get
right.
into how did you get started in racing.
Perfect. So hi, my name is Hannah Grisham. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Southern California, but I live in Rome, Georgia. I live here because I'm a test driver for Pirelli Tires, and our North American headquarters is here in Rome, Georgia. Um, I've been racing since I was 6, and I guess we'll get into that a little bit more. I do have a dog. His name is Zeke. He's a black lab.
Okay. And so how old were you when you moved and lived on your own in Georgia? I assume you moved there for your job or whatever, but how
Yeah.
old were you when you moved there?
So I've lived here about exactly 2 years now. So I made the move when I was 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a little older than some. I know some gals
Yeah.
and guys too that take off for North Carolina or wherever they might go when they're 18, 19 years old,
Yeah.
and first time away from parents and that. So how was that move for you? That was a long way. What was that adjustment like?
Yeah, it was difficult to be honest at first, especially. I mean, it's just so far. I mean, it's a 4-hour plane ride home, which, all the way across the country. So I think it was really hard just adjusting, not being able to see my parents every weekend, not being able to see my friends really often at all. So I think that was probably the hardest part of the adjustment for me. I think I definitely had to grow up a bit and mature, but overall, I'm happy I made the decision for many reasons. So yeah,
So you had to learn to do your own laundry and the dishes and pick up after yourself.
yeah,
Some of those things that I know kids kind of take for granted, don't they?
oh
Really,
for
some of the
sure,
things, some, if not all the things that their parents do for them, just because you're just used to that. You've grown up that way. And
yeah,
then, you have to go to the grocery store or you probably have yours delivered like my daughters do, but it's a whole different world, isn't it?
no, it is. Have to pay rent and make sure all my bills are paid on time.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I definitely miss just having a home cooked meal from my mom for sure. That
Oh,
was
I
something
bet.
I definitely took for granted was coming home and there was food.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And how did your parents feel about having you so far away?
I mean, I think kinda same, like, I'm the youngest child, so for them, like, once I left, I was kind of they were empty nesters, but, I mean, overall, and then the day, they were happy for me and, thought it was a good decision and, a pretty cool job and a good job, so
Yeah.
happy but sad. Bittersweet, I guess,
Yeah,
is the
for
right
sure.
word.
Yeah. It is hard. Like I was telling you before we got on, my youngest two daughters live out here in Phoenix and
Mhm.
last week I was with my youngest daughter
Yeah.
and she has a little guy that's just 2 years old, and a couple other children. But it is a long way, even from Kalamazoo to Phoenix is
Yeah.
about 3.5 hour flight,
Yeah.
and it is a long way to have your kids that far away. Luckily, my oldest daughter lives 10 minutes from me, so at least
Oh, that's nice.
I have somebody close to
Yeah.
home for sure. Yeah. So Hannah, tell me, how did you get started in racing?
So kind of runs in the family a little bit for me. My dad raced motorcycles, mostly Baja 1000 type motorcycle racing. So when I was a kid, I kind of showed an interest for it, and so my dad kind of wanted to get me involved in racing, but he wasn't too sure about motorcycles just because they're so dangerous. So he took me to the local indoor go-karting track, um, and we went a couple weekends in a row just to make sure that I really did have an interest for it, which I did.
Mhm.
And then for my birthday when I was 6, I got a go-kart, and it kind of took off from there, and I fell in love with it. So here we are.
So your dad kind of gave you the bug, and
Yeah,
sometimes I think it's in our blood,
sure.
for sure. And then so 6 years old, so I think you said you're 20, so you've already been involved in motorsports for 14 years, which is a long time really when you look back to think about it. So tell
Yeah.
me about the journey from then quarter midget to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, I raced as long as I can remember, really. I mean, I was such a small child. But yeah, so I once I got started in go-karts, I did that for about 10 years and did well there. I then got a really cool opportunity to go race Spec Miata. So I took that up. I was about 15 years old, 15, 16, and I ended up racing Spec Miata for about 4 years. I also did well in that, won a Spec Miata championship, and went to the Mazda shootout a couple times. And then now I currently race in WRL with Round 3 Racing, which is like an endurance type of series. So we usually have like 8-hour races twice a week. And so, yeah, that's kind of where the path has led me.
So why don't you tell me a little bit more about the kind of racing you're doing now? Because I'm not as familiar
Yeah.
with that, and probably my listeners aren't either. So why don't you explain that a little bit?
Okay, so I do mostly sports car racing. So WRL is a multi-class racing endurance series. So there's about 4 different classes that race, but we all are going on simultaneously at the same time. So usually how they do it is there's like a practice day Friday, and then you have an 8-hour race on Saturday and an 8-hour race on Sunday. So in my car, we have 3 drivers. Most cars have 3 to 4 drivers. Um, and then we'll all kind of go through the rotation each day and do either a single stint or a double stint. And it really changes and depends on the track and the fuel mileage, how far you can go in each stint. Um, so yeah, I hopefully that was a little better insight.
So is a stint similar to a stage in NASCAR racing?
I think so. I don't
Okay,
know.
so it's
See,
a
I'm not
certain length.
too
Is it
familiar
a, is it a certain length of time, or is it a certain amount of distance?
It's usually a certain amount of time. So in
Okay.
that, we usually calculate it changes from race to race just because of the fuel and how far we can go.
Okay.
So in our car, it depends on what car you're in. The BMWs on our team will go shorter stints, but for us in our Boxster, we'll go anywhere from like an hour and a half to an hour 45 minutes on one tank of fuel.
Okay.
So yeah,
All right. And so there's 4 different types of cars on the track. Now, I have seen this on television because
okay,
it was very confusing to me
okay, yeah, yeah,
that there were so many kinds of cars on the track. So in those 4 classes, are
yeah.
they like a lower class and then you move up, or are they just different kinds of cars?
So it's pretty much like power, weight to power ratio, I guess is how they do it. So the highest class is like just the higher horsepower cars, which they call GTO, and it's basically a GT4 car, just about. And then as you go down, it's just a lower horsepower car, pretty much.
Okay.
But within those classes, there's multiple different cars. You could pretty much run anything. It just has to be in that, that range, that power to weight ratio pretty much. So you'll see
Okay.
a bit of everything. You'll see BMWs, you'll see Porsches, um, Astons, Janettas. You'll see everything really.
Yeah. That makes it kind of fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
So
does. It mixes it up a bit.
so do the BMW drivers, are they, competing or a friendly rivalry with the Aston Martin drivers? I mean, is there that kind of competition off the track a little bit?
Um, I don't know, somewhat. The BMWs are very popular as well as the Caymans. But I mean, usually teams will have multiple kind of different cars depending. So I would feel like it's more rivalry against teams than car manufacturers, at least in this series.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So about I suppose it depends on what track you're at. So um, first, why don't you tell me like where those races occur? Do you
Mhm,
travel or is that basically one track? And then about how
mhm.
fast do you go?
So WRL, the series they stick mostly on the East Coast, but we'll go all over. So this year, like they've gone to Barber, Road Atlanta, Mid Ohio, gone to Daytona. So it's pretty much all the main tracks that IMSA will go to, but we
Okay.
mostly stick to the East Coast. And there's about 8 different race weekends a season, I think, 8 to 10. Um, and then how fast you go in our car, I would say the fastest track would be Road America, probably. Maybe 140, 130.
Okay.
I don't know. It's my best guess.
Okay.
So,
And Road America is a great track. I love
yeah,
that place.
it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it is. I'm disappointed about the NASCAR not doing the cup race there this year.
Yeah,
And I realize they like to move races around, which all the series like to do that to get new fans and that kind of thing. But that is just such a great venue, and it's just it to me, it's just one of the best places to go to watch a race. But I love
for
that
sure.
track. Yeah,
No, it's a
for
great
sure.
one.
It is. So, what's your favorite track to drive at?
I like VIR a lot, and I don't know, it's hard. I like a lot of tracks. VIR is cool. So is Road Atlanta.
Mhm.
I'm a fan of the more kind of technical tracks. Sonoma's also really great. Those are probably my top 3, I would say.
Okay. And when you say technical tracks, explain to us what that means.
Um, just not like I guess it's a certain flow. Maybe more like busy is the right way to put it. Like there's kind of a lot going on, tight, technical turns that are just a bit difficult. Maybe a little more mentally challenging. I don't know.
Okay.
Some people like the more faster, flowy kind of tracks,
Hmm.
which I guess Road America might kind of be considered that.
Yeah.
But I like the more tighter, technical, maybe not quite as top high speed tracks, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. And so, is this something that you see yourself doing for a while? Is this like something you love and you want to stay doing this, or are there other things that you'd like to move on to?
Do you mean like specifically WRL or
Yeah. Yeah. Or
um
like, yeah, this series.
this series specifically, I think is a really great platform to be like kind of a stepping stone at that semi-professional level into, an IMSA or an SRO. The team I race with right now, I absolutely love. They're all amazing people. But I think ultimately my goal is to, go to an IMSA and compete against the
Mhm.
best in the country.
Yeah.
But it's a great series and a great, semi-professional series where you are getting people, you're getting IMSA teams and stuff
Right.
racing, but also you kind of have that amateur aspect to it still.
Okay. So how many women race in these kinds of cars? Do you have any idea? Is that a lot or not very many?
So actually, there's a fair amount, specifically on my team. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah. So we had a race last weekend at Sebring, and there's 4 cars on our team. Um, so there's me and Sarah who are in different cars, and then we have another car who had actually an all-female lineup this weekend, which was Lonnie, Sabra, and Aaron. And they won both days. They swept the weekend, so it was really awesome. Paramount
That
in
is awesome.
general in WRL, I probably 8 to 10, maybe close to
Oh, that's
10,
a lot.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fair amount, so it's really awesome to see. Super, super great.
Well, and especially, there's some series that don't have any women. And so to
Yeah,
see that many women and then for them to sweep the weekend, that's pretty good.
it was
So
awesome.
it seems to me like, okay, 2 8-hour races in a weekend. Are you completely drained at the end of those days, or because you switch off and you're not driving the whole 8 hours, I realize. But what does that do to you like physically? Are
They
you
for
exhausted?
sure they for sure can be draining, especially depending on the weather. Like, Road Atlanta this year was quite draining because it was so humid, it was so hot, um, so you just go out there and it's like you have no liquids left in you, so it can be really draining, and you usually are definitely wanting to just kinda go home and shower and sleep to prepare for the next day because you have to do it all over again.
Right. Right. So what would be your routine to stay in shape as a driver of these kind of races?
For me, I do a fair amount of running. Um, I think these races specifically are more just kind of about, it's endurance racing and it's
Mhm.
just being able to withstand being in a car for, up to 3 hours. So thankfully we have cool suits in the cars, but they don't always work.
Yeah.
Um, but it helps. But yeah, I mean, it can be really mentally draining when you're out there and it's extremely hot and you now have to do a 3-hour stint. Um, So you need to be ready,
Yeah.
and adapt to that weather kind of and just those conditions. So I usually like to run a fair amount,
Okay.
especially right before a race weekend. I find that's best, just a lot of cardio.
Okay. Yeah, the humidity is probably the worst thing,
Yeah,
on a driver, I would think. The heat and the humidity, and I see that in a lot of different kinds of racings. So, Hannah, do you know Brad McCall?
I do know Brad McCall.
Well, he says, "Hannah Grisham, you're a superstar." He says that in one of our comments. So, thanks, Brad, for being on and for giving Hannah a shout out for sure. So, Hannah, how much do you work on the car or help with the car that you drive?
Um, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not a whole lot. First of all, the shop is not anywhere near me, so I don't really have the
Okay.
luxury to go to the shop. Um, during the race weekends, I try to put in my 2 cents on maybe some car setup, but I'm more there for moral support, I guess.
Okay.
It's a little difficult, and I feel like I would just kinda get in people's way, to be honest.
Okay.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I've talked to other women who, it's the same thing. The shop's somewhere else, the car is
Yeah,
somewhere else. They don't have the opportunity
yeah.
to go and do and learn maybe more about the car and that kind of thing. And so you're not alone there. So it's not anything to be sorry about. It's just how it is for sure. But
Yeah, I mean, we will all pitch in when, like, the cars are fueling, since we do have 4 cars, it gets real difficult when you only have
mhm,
a certain amount of people and maybe there's double yellow and 3 cars need to come in and fuel. Usually, if some of us are hanging around, we'll try to pitch in and help where we can. But
okay,
again, it's like the same thing, like, you almost feel a bit like you're getting in the way, so you have
yeah,
to be careful because they kinda have a rhythm and a
right.
certain way that they always do things, so
So you would have a pit crew that would travel with your team or more than one for each car, or how does
yeah.
that work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all have, like, a car chief and, people who help the team, so,
Okay.
they come to all the races with us, and we always have the same people pretty much,
Yeah.
and they're really great. They're super hardworking, and they're all
That's a
great
hard
people.
job.
I know, it is. It's probably the hardest job on the team, so
You
I
know,
give them
I
props.
Oh, yeah, because I watch, like, as you know, I'm a huge NASCAR fan, but
Yeah.
I watch a lot of different kinds of racing, and it doesn't matter what series it is or the guys and gals that are pitting those cars. I mean, I was on pit road in Phoenix this last weekend for the championship race, and those guys don't look all that big
Yeah.
when you're watching on television. But when you stand up next to them, and I'm only like 5'3", so I'm not very tall. But some of those guys that lift those gas cans, and they're tall and they're muscular, and they're, it's just like, wow. It
Yeah.
it takes an sorry, Hannah, I don't know what happened. I
Wasn't
dis
sure where you went.
I disappeared for a second. Sorry about that. Um,
That's okay.
but those guys that are pitting those cars they're definitely athletes. And
No, for sure.
a couple of them prior to the race, the stretching and the different things they do to get ready. And it's a hard job. And on a hot, humid day, they have just as much heat and humidity, almost as being inside the car for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, because in our series, they have to get fully suited. They have to have a helmet on, visor down. So
Right.
when you're lifting tires over the wall and, big
Yeah.
gas cans, it's a lot.
It's a lot for sure. So are there any women that do any kind of pitting in your series?
On our team, no. I don't know honestly if there are.
Okay.
I believe there are. I
Yeah.
feel like there's at least a couple.
I know a couple gals that do that in the NASCAR series,
Yeah.
tire specialists, or one of them is a tire changer for Xfinity,
Mhm.
and she's not very big. And
Yeah.
so it always amazes me that, they do, but they're in shape and they do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So how does it work when you drive for these teams? And if you didn't mention the name of your team, but let's mention the name of your team. And so when you drive for them, um, they have sponsors on the car, and the team is in charge of that, or how does that work? Who pays for those
Um,
people to get out there and race?
so I race for Round 3 Racing, which is Brad McCall's show. So hi Brad. Don't know if you're still
Okay.
watching. Him and Buzz, which is
All
his
right.
name. Great people. Um, but yeah, so our team, fortunately enough, we have some really great people. We work with Shift Up Now first of all, which
Mhm. Yeah.
is like a collective of women that kind of support each other, and through that, we kind of also use that platform to gain some sponsorship. But we also have a really great partner in Haggerty that we've been lucky enough to have
Yes.
last year as well as this. And what they're doing is really amazing and has given a lot of people great opportunities in this
Hmm.
sport, specifically females.
Yes.
Um, so really happy to been able to have them on the car for 2 years and on the team.
Yeah, Haggerty's been a huge help, I know, for a number of people. And yes, I'm very familiar with
Yeah.
Shift Up Now. I'm a member
Yeah.
of that organization. And Brad says, yes, I'm still here and I love you, Hannah. So he's watching for sure.
Love you
So,
too, Brad.
so yeah. And, there's nothing cheap about motorsports. I don't
No.
care if it's a quarter midget or what, but, and so it takes all those people working together,
Yeah.
and I love that these sponsors have chosen to support women and be very supportive, as like Haggerty, supportive of women, because um, everybody struggles to get sponsorship, but especially women. It's been very difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really great to see it too also at a little bit more of a not necessarily that WRL, it's grassroots, but supporting females who are up and coming because I feel like
Hmm.
that's where you really like it's very difficult to make that next step. So I think them
Yeah.
helping, some of us has been super amazing and given us the opportunity to go find other seats, go get bigger opportunities and really progress in this sport. So I mean,
Yeah.
huge kudos to them and shout out. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So Brad says that you were the star of the Drive Within. So why don't you tell
Um,
us about that?
I don't know about that one. I think that was the Mo and Sarah show. But
Okay.
yeah, so last year we got to do the Drive Within, which was pretty much a Motor Trend show about our team, Round 3 Racing. Um, and they pretty much followed one car every weekend.
Okay.
And I think there were 6 or 7 episodes. Yeah, it was really great filming that. Definitely a different experience, getting out of the car and just kinda having a microphone right there and a camera
Mhm.
ready to interview.
Yeah.
But, it was a cool experience, and we became friends with all the film crew, and they were all awesome, so, um, it was really great.
And so is that something that somebody could find? Is it out there somewhere that somebody could find it to watch?
I think you can find it on the Motor Trend website, and I think you're also
Okay.
can probably find it on Haggerty's website as well,
Okay. All
I
right.
believe.
So that'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll give a shout out and see if we can get some people to check that out for sure.
It's a pretty
Yeah.
good show, I have to say. I mean, I know I was on it, and maybe I'm a little biased, but I thought it was pretty
That's
good.
okay. You know, I think Netflix and of course USA, they did Netflix did the F1,
Yeah,
um, which I think it really did help that series in
for
the
sure.
United States. For me, for sure. I mean, I'm a race junkie, so of course I follow F1, but maybe not as closely as some because there's not any women drivers. And
Yeah.
if I can't even keep up with all the women that I know, much less, other series. But I do like it, and I did watch that show, and I really enjoyed it. And then they did USA Network just did the one on the NASCAR drivers, and
Mhm,
so I think these shows get not only the names out of the gals or guys, but it also maybe gets people who have a perception about racing or who watches racing or what a
mhm.
racing fan, the demographic and the avatar of what a race fan is. And they say, oh, that's not what I thought. Maybe I'm a race fan now. And so I love that they've taken the time to do these shows. I'd like to see them do more of these kinds of shows.
Yeah, I mean, I think racing maybe isn't the most relatable sport,
Hmm.
whereas, everyone's played soccer, so everyone can, like, enjoy watching soccer probably in some form
Right.
or amount, but, I feel like racing for a lot of people is a bit unobtainable to some standard, so it's
Yes.
hard to really relate. Also, the
Hmm.
fact that, everyone has a helmet on, like, you're not really person to
Yeah,
person, so I think these shows really give you kind of a more personable and relatable side of racing.
I
I
agree.
think that for sure brings the interest of, those people that aren't just kinda diehard race fans that have
Yeah.
always loved it or kinda grown up in it. So, yeah, but I think motorsports in this country has seen such an increase because of
Hmm.
the whole Drive to Survive thing. I mean,
I
even the
agree.
F1 race, I think the COTA race was, like, the most attended F1 race
It
ever or
was.
something.
It
So,
was.
uh
And besides the fact at the cost of the tickets, which somebody was telling me about, which are really expensive, they were still all those people were there. And so, they didn't let the cost of that race keep them from being there. Whereas, to come and watch your race or even a NASCAR race, it's not
mhm.
prohibitable. You can get decent tickets pretty much at a good price for any of those, less than a football game, NFL game, or that for sure.
Yeah,
And so I love that they're doing these kind of shows, that get more people interested, at least to give it a try and to at least watch it on television and say like, oh, maybe I will go to a race when it comes close to me. And that's what we want. We want more people to come out in person and
yeah.
and really become fans. And so I think those all help.
Definitely. I talk to
Yeah.
so many of my friends now who are like, "Oh, Drive to Survive?" Who have never really
Yeah.
shown interest in racing, but
Right.
so it's cool to
Right.
see.
It is cool to see. So when you have a bad day at the racetrack, and everybody has one,
Yeah.
how do you handle that? What's your coping mechanism?
Probably dinner and sleep, I would say.
Okay.
Usually, I feel like going to bed is kind of the best thing to do,
Okay.
because I feel like usually if you kinda sleep on things, you maybe wake up and then you're like, "I still got to race the car," so
Right.
that's more than most can say. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like that's probably the main thing.
My
Uh,
mom used to say everything looks better in the morning. So
yeah.
if you can go to bed and sleep it off a little bit,
Yeah,
and you get up in the morning, things look different. Things you've
for
let
sure,
some of that time go away, and so that always helps for sure.
for sure. I
So
mean, yeah, but I feel like all most days at the racetrack are good because I mean, you're getting to do what you love, and
I know.
that's a great thing. But there are still bad days, so
Well, there's days that don't turn out the way you want, but in
yeah,
the end, like you said, you look back and say, I get to do something that most people never have a chance to do. And how
exactly.
could you not just be blessed to be
No,
able
yeah,
to do that?
you feel a little guilty if you are like real
Yeah.
down because, like we're
Yeah.
saying, it's an
Yeah.
awesome thing to do.
It is for sure. So, do you have any kind of a fan experience? Like, NASCAR has lots of fans, F1 has lots of fans. Do you have fans that follow your series or follow you specifically that you want to share about? How much access do the fans get to you if they wanted to?
So there's a couple things. We in WRL they have like a live stream on YouTube where they pretty much broadcast the entire races, which is it's actually a pretty good live stream.
Yeah.
And then you also have Sentinel, which is also a sponsor of one of our cars
Okay.
and the owner of races on our team. But that's like an in-car footage, so you can also on pretty much any race weekend go on YouTube and find the links to whatever car you want to
Okay.
watch. Um,
Okay.
so that's kind of cool. Not really any commentary, but you can still watch.
That's
Um,
okay.
Other than that, WRL for the first time at Sebring did kind of try to bring fans to the race, which was cool to see. I mean, the whole thing is like you said, bring more fans to the sport, get more
Right.
support, also help people kind of fund seats and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, but any race you could pretty much come to.
Okay. But do you not have a lot of fans come actually to the races?
Um, Probably not.
Okay. Okay. I'm
Other than like,
surprised.
you
I'm
know,
surprised at that. I would have thought, that it would have been something that fans do come to, but maybe they just don't know enough about it.
yeah, or it's just the word's not really spread.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get a fair amount of people because not a lot, but Haggerty does like a cars and caffeine thing usually
Yeah.
at some of our races, so we'll get a fair amount of cool cars and people for that
Okay.
usually. On
Yeah.
I think they do it on Saturdays. So sometimes we'll get some people through that.
Okay. Well, we need to get this promoted more so that we get more people at the track
And
because and the other thing about that is that, um, you know, you want to go watch your favorite driver. So let's say they've watched you on YouTube,
yeah.
and so now they want to come and watch you race in person. Would they have the opportunity to get close enough to actually meet you in that, or
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, our
okay,
races, like, it's not super strict at all. So I think most of our races, like, the only thing you'd maybe have to pay is, like, the entry fee that's specifically for the track,
okay,
which not all of them even have, maybe it's like $5 or $10.
okay,
Um, and then, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much kind of open game there. So
okay. All right, so that's something I'm going to write down and try to promote those races a little more and see if we can get some more fans to the
yeah.
track because one of the things that is my on my bucket list. I have a lot of things on it, but one of the things I have is events at races
Mhm.
geared towards women, and
Yeah.
let's just say it's one of your races and we want to invite women to come out and see one that motorsports of any kind is for women. It's
Mhm.
not just a guy sport. And especially in your series where so many women are racing,
For sure.
that it's something that you can do,
Mhm.
and just promote it, get people to see that it's a good thing, and maybe they have a daughter who wants to start racing and she's a Hannah Grisham fan, and so how did you start? Oh, Hannah started in quarter midgets. Okay, good, we have a quarter midget track, we're going to start there. So
Yeah.
you just don't know who you could impact if you could get them to the track and to really become a fan, like a lot of the other sports. So yeah, I'm gonna put that down on my list of things to do that I have as long, but I'll put it
Yeah,
down on there because I love promoting and
yeah.
getting women's names out there for
No,
sure.
I think it's a great way to get more women involved in this sport, so
Yeah, absolutely.
by all means.
So what's your favorite thing about being a race car driver?
Um, Definitely the driving part, not so much the other stuff that comes with it, I would say, which I'm sure most race car drivers can relate. Um, but yeah, I love the sound of cars, the smell of tires. It's a good one. But I also think it's so awesome being able to, go at crazy high speeds and be, an inch apart from the person you're competing with. Um,
Mhm.
for me, also, I really enjoy when you're racing, you kind of get in the zone, which is like, for me, it's like the subconscious state of mind.
Mhm.
Um, and it's kind of therapeutic to me. I really like it. It kind of just makes everything else outside of the car just go away, I guess.
I've heard that from other women
Yeah.
that it's almost calming in
Mhm.
the respect that, you know, if they some women that are driving are going to school or have a family or have some kind of stress in their life, and when they get behind the wheel, it disappears. And
Yeah.
you would think that getting behind the wheel would be the stress, but it's not. It's the thing that releases the stress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Isn't that fun? Yeah.
It is.
So, social media,
Yeah.
gosh, you love it or hate it, right?
I've learned
So,
to get a little more used to it, but
okay. So, tell me, how do you use it to your benefit? What do how would you like to see it change? Give me some insight into you and social media.
I mean, I think it's kind of necessary at this point in the world. I think also especially for a series, if you're racing in a series that doesn't really have, a TV series, like a live TV following or whatever it be,
Right.
because now if you're, from a marketing perspective, trying to attract sponsors, they want a return on investment. So
Sure.
um, when you're at that more kind of lower level, I guess, you have to use it. You
Yeah.
have to because that's what people want. They want eyes on whatever it is that they're trying to sell. So
Yep.
it is necessary, which
Mhm.
I know a lot of people don't love it, but it just comes with what we all want to do with this career. So
Yeah. I mean, it used, let's go back 20
mhm.
years. Before when Al Gore said, "What is the internet?" or he invented the internet or whatever
Yeah.
they always said about him. Before that, it was, you didn't really hear or even know much about other series or other drivers other than maybe the kind of cars that you liked to
Mhm.
follow. So back to NASCAR. I'm a NASCAR fan.
Yeah.
20 years ago, I wouldn't have even known there was a Hannah Grisham or that she raced or anything about it. Um, and so for that, I'm grateful for all the women that I've met, and it's been through social media. I put in, a racing series, or so I see your name somewhere and then I reach out to you,
Mhm.
or it's just I've met hundreds of women that way. I've written 450 some stories for
Yeah.
my online magazine about women that I would have never known
Yeah, I
had
mean,
they had it not been about for social media. And same with this show and that. And so it's a necessary part of today's life.
mhm.
We just have to make sure that we use it to the best of our ability and not get pulled down into that rabbit hole that gets ugly.
Yeah, for sure. It is a great way to connect with people. You're very right on that. But I completely agree. There are some bad sides of social media that you got to be a little bit careful of. But
Hmm.
I think overall, if you utilize it in the right way, it can be a really, really powerful tool and resource.
I agree. And I I was talking to somebody over the weekend. She's actually a media person for NASCAR, and we were having a discussion. And she's young; she was probably not even 30 yet. and I'm in my 60s. And I said to her, "Oh, if this had only been a thing back when I was your age, that's what I would have done. I would have gone to school to be a marketing promotions person, but you didn't ever hear about that, you
No,
know,
yeah,
40 years ago or whatever. It just, and I just see these young gals that I've met that are into that, are into the promotions, the PR, the social media, and work for a race team or a racetrack or NBC, and I'm just so jealous. I just think that would be so fun. And I
yeah,
know there's downsides to every job. You
for
just
sure.
said that yourself. You love the driving, but you don't love all the other stuff that goes with it. I get that part. But
Yeah,
I just think being able to promote and connect with people, I love that. I
yeah,
love that part of all of this. And that's something that if everything went away tomorrow, I still have all those friendships that I've made
for sure.
through this, and to me that's priceless, for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah. So have you raced ever? You did quarter midgets. Have you ever raced anything just crazy like a lawnmower or a shopping cart or anything?
No, no
Okay.
lawnmowers or shopping carts.
Okay. I had
Um,
somebody who did, when I asked that question, say yes. I did race a shopping cart. My husband was in the shopping cart, and so I always have to ask that question because you never know what somebody's going to say. But that
that's
was
true.
kind of fun.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I got to drive a sprint car once.
Okay.
That was
How was
pretty
that?
cool. It was pretty crazy. I was probably like 16 years old, and it was just I remember it being so weird because you're literally sitting there like straight up, and like the
Yeah.
wheel is just flat.
Yeah.
Somebody described it to me as sitting at the kitchen table for breakfast or something.
Oh,
But it was
I'm not sure
crazy.
I'd call it like that because it looks kind of scary to me because they seem to roll over pretty easy. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
pretty crazy. That was my first time ever doing anything on dirt as well. So,
Yeah. Did you
um,
like that driving on dirt?
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Definitely, if I had the opportunity, I would do it again.
Okay. Okay,
But
we're gonna put that out there. She's looking for a sprint car ride. There you go. So do you do any kind of like iRacing or any of that? Does that online help you at all with the kind of racing you do?
so I do have a sim, and I do use it sometimes. I mostly use it for like visualization. If I'm going to a track I've never been before, I do find it helpful
Okay.
just to kind of get the lay of the land before you go there. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
As far as anything past that, I'm not like a huge iRacing person. I don't love it. I know some drivers really do love it, but
Hmm.
for me, it's more kind of like a tool just to visualize things beforehand.
Okay. All right. That's good. It's gotten to be a very popular thing, even with,
Yeah,
my granddaughter races, she and her boyfriend, and they enjoy doing that too. And it's just, I think they do it more for fun. But I
yeah,
can see where if you hadn't been to a track before, it could be very beneficial to
yeah.
get familiar with that track for sure.
It's crazy how accurate some of the layouts are, and
I
even the stuff
know.
surrounding it, the trees and whatnot. It's pretty crazy. So
It's To me, it's amazing what
yeah,
they're able to do. Yeah, for
it
sure.
is.
So, Hannah, a woman in motorsports, that's what I focus on. Do you think it's been a benefit? Is there a benefit to being a woman? Or are there things that are not a benefit, or does it matter?
I think it goes both ways, maybe a bit. Um, I mean, I think there is definitely like a big push at the moment for women,
Hmm.
but then it's difficult because I think it definitely is like racing is very much like a good old boys sport, I would say.
Hmm.
So in those terms, it can be definitely difficult. Um, I don't know, it's a tough question,
It
but
is
I
tough.
think it goes both ways a bit.
Yeah.
But, then the thing with, like, even the push for women, it's sometimes you wonder, are people or companies just kinda checking a box and then that's it? Um, you never
Or are
really.
they really, really sincere about
Yeah,
wanting more women? I've heard lip service,
yeah,
and I challenged the person a little bit, and just to see, is it lip service, or is he really serious about what he's saying about wanting to support more women and get more women, and I didn't really see the actions follow the words, and so
Yeah.
that part I don't like. But then there's people like Haggerty and other
Yeah.
companies, PNC Bank is one, and there's a number of them that really are sincere about wanting, and they put their money and
Word of
their
mouth is
time
big.
and everything behind it. And that's how and those are the companies I like to promote, because
For sure.
they really do what they say they're going to do, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There definitely is a line of the ones who
Yeah.
you can tell actually are serious about
Yeah.
helping women and those who kinda just it's more maybe like a PR type thing, so
Exactly. Exactly. So what do you do during the off season when you're not racing?
well, so I do have a full-time job, so
Okay.
probably I would be working,
Okay.
exciting stuff. So, yeah, I work full-time for Pirelli Tires,
Oh yes. So
as
why don't you tell us about that? What do you do there?
yeah, so I'm, a subjective test driver for Pirelli North America. So I pretty much whenever I'm not racing, that's what I'm doing. Um, I pretty much test everything from OEM to aftermarket, high performance, into a little bit of motorsports tires for Pirelli. So how that looks is pretty much you get multiple sets of tires designed, and then I go ahead, I test drive them, which is usually steering, the ride and noise, wet handling, and hard handling. And then I have a form, I rate it, I give the feedback, and then the engineers go ahead and make a change based on that information.
Now that's a pretty cool job, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, like we said earlier, all jobs have their moments,
Well,
but I think for the most part, I definitely consider myself lucky, and I enjoy the job. It keeps me in a car also all the time, and I get to
mhm.
do some pretty cool things every once in a while. So I overall I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's no I mean, is there a perfect job? I don't know.
I don't.
Probably
Yeah,
not,
I don't think so
but compared to what other things you could be doing,
for
it's
sure.
probably a pretty good choice of how you spend your day hours.
No, I'm lucky. And it for sure helps with the racing. I mean, the past 2 years I've been doing it. First of all, it's way harder than I ever thought it would be, and I never knew this much went into building a tire, making a tire, designing it. There's a lot that goes on. So, but it's taught me a lot, especially about like vehicle dynamics and stuff, which has been really amazing. And even just like being able to work for a company in the industry is, kind of gives you an insight into
Uh-huh.
what companies think and that sort of thing. So I've really enjoyed my time so far.
There's so many things that go into whatever it might be. It could be, how do you make a marshmallow? I
Yeah,
mean, you eat the marshmallow or you make a s'more with it, but do you really think about what goes into it? No. That's true of everything in our life.
for
There's
sure.
so many things in the background that we never think about.
For
And
sure.
and so who would ever think that a young gal is testing tires and giving feedback for Goodyear, Pirelli, whoever it might be, because they all
Mhm.
do it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing, that's a job, you
Mhm.
know. I try to explain, I talk to so many, especially young girls, who want to be the next F1 driver, the next World of Outlaw driver, the next Sprint Cup or NASCAR driver. And I love encouraging them, but we all know it takes a lot of money. It takes being seen by the right people at the right time. It just, there's so many things that go into getting to that spot. So I usually try to say to them, I love what you're wanting to do. What else do you like to do? Do you like photography? Do you like whatever it might be? Because they need a backup plan.
For sure.
And there's so many just amazing fun jobs in motorsports. And I'm going to give you an example of one that I never
Yeah.
knew existed. So I met a gal over the weekend. She was
Mhm.
standing under, like out on pit road. The NBC booth was
Mhm.
all set up where they broadcast from. And she was standing underneath, where it's shaded. where the
Yeah.
TVs and stuff are. And so I stopped and introduced myself and that because that's what I do when I go to the races. I want to meet people and I want to know
Yeah.
what these women are doing. She's the hair and makeup artist
Huh.
for NBC for NASCAR.
That's
So
awesome. Huh.
so
Never knew that
isn't
was a
that
thing.
I never that's what I said to her. I never knew that was a thing. And
Huh.
she was so fun to talk to.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, it's a great job for a mom." She said, I work on I fly out on Thursday, I work on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, fly home usually Sunday night or Monday, then I'm a mom the rest of the week and then I do it again." And she said, "It's a
Huh.
great job. I absolutely love it." But who knew that you could
No,
do
yeah.
that,
That's
right?
awesome. No, I never knew, so look at
So
that.
there's so many things that
Yeah,
girls can go to school for or be trained for that are involved in motorsports of any kind
for sure.
and not be the driver. And so, yes, I want to see more women driving in all types of motorsports, but I also want to see a woman be the crew chief, and I
Yeah,
want to see, all those kinds of things. And so that's what I'm all about. I want to see all those women. So,
like, really,
Hannah, what have I not asked you about that we
ooh.
should be talking about? And by the way, Robert Montgomery says Hannah with a whole bunch of exclamation marks. So he's probably there. I'll put it up on the screen. So he's probably somebody that you know as well.
Yeah, that's Sarah's dad.
Okay. All right. Well, he's got a great daughter for sure, Sarah
Yes.
Montgomery. Yeah.
I
Um,
guess, I mean, that's one thing I could talk about. I'm lucky enough to live very close to Sarah, so I
okay.
get to see her often. Definitely
Good.
one of the people that has helped me a lot since I moved to Georgia, so really great
Okay.
having a network of women who I've mostly
Yes.
gotten to know from Round 3 racing, like
Yeah.
Lonnie and Sarah, so super
Yeah.
thankful for those 2.
That's awesome because
Yeah.
you need that, and especially moving so far from your family,
Mhm.
you've got to find a network of people that you can, have dinner with or chat with or do whatever so that you're not, just hanging out by yourself. And I'm sure you're
Yeah.
not anyway, but you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
nice to have those people to fall back on and know that somebody's there for you if you need them.
For sure, and those 2 can relate to pretty much whatever is happening in life
Yes,
more than just about anyone else, so
absolutely.
it's great to have that network.
It really is. It
Mhm.
really is for sure. Well, I don't have any other questions for you, Hannah. Um, unless nobody has a question. There, one of them says Facebook user. It doesn't have their name, but it says go Han. So it must be somebody that knows you, and I'm sure that with 2 purple hearts. And so thank you for putting your comments out there for Hannah. We will absolutely have this um, show available to share and that so that other people can listen to it because everybody's not available at 7 o'clock Eastern time on a Wednesday,
Yeah,
but we do get a lot of listens to the show later. So we'll be sharing the link for this out there. And so Hannah, usually I have a co-host on
mhm,
this show, Brett Timmerman. Brett is
mhm.
really involved in the dirt world and all those places. And but he's taken a few weeks off to get some things going, that he's doing, and then he's going to be starting a new job, and then he'll be back with us. But one thing that he always tells our guests at the end is that the Women's Motorsports Network is a family,
Mhm.
and that now that you've been on our show, you're part of the family.
Yay!
So welcome to the family. And I
Thank
love
you.
that he started doing that. That's cool.
That's awesome.
So Brad McCall says, who's going to win the championship at Coda?
Definitely the 605 car. Yeah, we're in the hunt. Our car's in the hunt for the championship, and it pretty much comes down to our last race at Coda. So it's gonna be a close one, but I think we can do it. So it'll be a
And
good
when
race.
is that? So we can try to find it and watch.
Yeah, it's the first weekend of December, which is the 3rd and the 4th, I believe, of
Okay.
December, and we have 2 8-hour races, one Saturday, one Sunday at Coda.
And we can watch that on YouTube. And tell me again, how do I watch it on YouTube?
So usually we don't get the links till it gets closer, and then we'll post
Okay.
them usually on our socials, like me,
Okay.
Lonnie, Sarah will.
All right.
as well as Round 3 Racing's social media.
Okay.
There's a WR has a YouTube channel where they broadcast pretty much the entire race. So you
Okay.
can probably just look up World Racing League and you'll find it.
All right. And if not, send me the link and I'll share it and post it for you.
Perfect. Will
And
do.
I would love to do that. And I'm going to try to watch because, there's no racing much on TV now, and it's
Yeah.
all about football and basketball and all that. And so if I can watch racing, that's what I'm going to be watching. So
Well,
I'll
awesome.
try.
I will send you the link then, for sure.
Okay, absolutely. Would love that. So Brad says, "We love you, Hannah. You got this, and see you soon."
Love
So
you, Brad.
your fan club has
And
come
Robert.
alive tonight. So that's awesome. So Hannah, thank you so much for taking time to
Thank
be on the
you.
show. I've really enjoyed talking with you and learning more about the races that you do and becoming more knowledgeable about it. And I really do want to support it and promote it. So any chance you get that you can send me something to help promote it, you do that and I will do it for you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So much. Well, you have a good weekend and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.
You as well.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was Hannah Grisham, and oh my gosh, she really gave us some good facts about about the series that she runs. And she's got her fan club there saying how much they love her. She's going to be racing December 3rd and 4th, which is, I believe is the first weekend in December. So make sure that you check out my posting. I'll be sharing how you can watch that. And I just love learning about new kinds of racing, how women are involved, and especially talking to young women like Hannah. She represents motorsports so well, and I'm proud to call her my new friend, and I will hopefully one day get to watch her race in person. So thank you, Hannah, for being on the show tonight with us. So as I said, Brett is taking a few weeks off here. So you're stuck with just me, but I did want to just mention a couple of things here. I was at the NASCAR championship race in Phoenix over the weekend, and it was beautiful weather. The crowds were amazing. I've not seen that many people for a Friday race as I did this year. Was there and saw my friend Carson Hosevar, who is from Portage, Michigan, right there in Kalamazoo, right by where I live. I'm always happy to see him and Amy, so that was good that I got to watch him race and connect with them. And the racing over the weekend was pretty good. There was a lot of ups and downs over the weekend, and if you haven't heard, we know that Ty Gibbs won the Xfinity race on Saturday night. It was on Saturday afternoon. It was a really good race. I personally am a junior motorsports fan, so I was cheering for Noah and Justin Allgaier, especially Justin. He's had a lot of opportunities to win an Xfinity championship, and it's always just slipped away from him. And he's from Illinois, Riverton, Illinois. And so I'm from Illinois. So I was kind of pulling for him. But I will have to say that Ty drove a heck of a race. He definitely had the best car there that night. And so the fact that he was able to win that night and celebrate with his family is going to be, looking back now, a long-term blessing for him and his whole family. As most of you probably know, his father passed away in his sleep that night after the race. We all learned of it when we were at the race right before the Cup race on Sunday. It was very difficult thinking about what that family might be going through. Coach Gibbs losing his second son, both at the age of 49, which is just unbelievable. And so I just want you to keep that family in your thoughts and your prayers. And, Ty's been through a lot. So he brought it on himself. I'll be the first to say that. And he would as well. But let's give him some grace. He's 20 years old. He will never go back to Phoenix again without remembering that he won his first Xfinity championship there, and then he lost his father. And so I I for one am going to give him a break. He's a kid. He's just lost a very important person in his life, and I hope that he is surrounded by people that can guide him and love him and reach out to him in ways so that he can deal with this and move forward. And so just wanted to put that out there that, we all make mistakes. There isn't a one of us that hasn't made a mistake or done or said something stupid. And so let's give him a little bit of grace and a little bit of encouragement if we can moving forward. So not to end on a bad note, but I just felt like I needed to have a chance to say that on his behalf. We've got some great shows lined up, and we've got some really, really big shows lined up for 2023. We've got some mini courses that I'm working on that are going to be available for people to join. And we're going to have mini courses on all kinds of topics that race car drivers um, would get benefit from. Anybody really in racing, you wouldn't have to be a driver. So we're going to be promoting those here soon. Those will start in January as well. And just want to let everybody know I really appreciate that you listen to us, that you follow us, that you share our links on our show. And if you would like to receive the online magazine that I do, if you just send an email to iwmaracing@gmail.com. I'm sorry, iwmanation@gmail.com. So it's iwmanation@gmail.com. Just send me a note and say, hey, I'd like to get your magazine, and I'll send you a copy of the magazine to your email. So we'll talk to you again soon. Next week, we'll have a guest, and then the week of Thanksgiving, we won't have a show, and then we'll be back with you through the rest of the year and all of next year. So thanks again for being on. We appreciate that you support us, and we love our women in motorsports. So good night, and I'll see you at the track.